Okay, so we're going to start off with a relatively easy problem like we had done last week. I'm looking at number 10 on your worksheet. X squared minus 8x minus 24 equals 0. So, if you remember, what? Okay. Completing the square will be easy when these two things are true. When A is 1 and B is even. Okay? So, anytime I have that, completing the square is going to be really quick and easy and not so bad. If A is not 1, we have to force it to be 1. So now, maybe it'll be okay, maybe it won't be. Right? If there was like a 2 in front of this, I'd have to divide everybody by 2. So in this case, that wouldn't be so bad because I can divide everything by 2 here. It is going to get a little bit more tricky when when the numbers don't divide evenly. All right? But in this case, A is 1, B is even, so we're relatively happy. So we learned last week that the first thing I want to do once I ensure that A is 1, and it is, then I would... Yes, I want to add C to the other side. In this case, it's a negative 24, so I'm going to add 24. Whatever C is, I want it on the other side. By the way, sometimes your problem might start off like this. You might have just x squared minus 8x equals 24. Okay, so then that part's just already done for you. You don't have to move 24 back over here and then move it back, right? If C's already over there, that's fine. So I have C on the other side. The next step was to...
The magic number.
I got to find the magic number. And I'm going to add the magic number to both sides. Now, how do I find the magic number again?
Take half of B squared.
Yes!
Ryan, go off.
So, half of B, in this case, would be... Yeah, negative 4, but then negative 4 squared is 16. Now, your magic number will always be positive because whether I square a positive or a negative, it doesn't matter. I get a positive number back out. So in this case, yes, the magic number is 16. So I will add 16 to both sides. Do not forget to add it to both sides. If you don't add it to both sides, you're going to get it wrong every time. So be careful. So now... on this side, I can just do 24 plus 16, which is, what, 40? And then on the left, what do I do? Do you remember? What do you do on the left?
No idea.
You factor it. Factors of 16 that add to be negative 8. Negative 4 and negative 4. So instead of writing x minus 4 times x minus 4, remember we write it as x minus 4 squared. It will always be the same two factors. That's why we can write it this way. That's why this whole system works. By the way, that magic number, when you do this, you have formed what they call a perfect square trinomial. So that's just fancy math language. So when you read something like this, find the value of C that completes the square, they're just asking what would the magic number be. That's all. So, when you see a phrase like that, that's what that means. We'll do that in a minute. So, if you had a question on your midterm maybe that said, find the value of C that completes the square, it's just the magic number. Any hoosers. So we're here. I still want to solve for x. I'm not done yet. So what can I do now? I can take the square root of both sides. When I take the square root of the left-hand side, what's left? X minus 4, because remember, a square root cancels out a squared, right? So I basically just cancel those with each other, and why did I write it 2? I don't know. Sorry. So I'm just left with what is underneath, x minus 4, x minus 4. Square root of 40. 40 is not a perfect square. But there is a perfect square that divides into it. Well, 4 is correct. I thought it wasn't, but it is, right? So 4, yes. So I'm going to split it up into the square root of 4 times the square root of 10. And I know the square root of 4 is just 2 root 10. However, what do I need to remember every time I take a square root in an equation? You need to remember that there's positive and negative roots. So you have to put that plus minus in there. It will not be there for you. You need to remember. And now I'm almost done. I want to get x all by itself, so the only thing I have left to do is add the 4. And remember how we do that. We're going to take it and we're going to shove it up right in there. A positive 4, just shove it. 4 plus or minus 2 root 10.
Love it.
And then what do I do?
Big question.
It's done. I guarantee you someone in here is going to keep going. They're going to do 4 plus 2 and say an answer is 6 root 10. They're going to do 4 minus 2 and say 2 root 10. They are going to be 100% wrong. You can't do 4 plus 2 root 10. They're not like radicals. I can add 4 root 10 and 2 root 10, but I can't add 4 to 2 root 10 any more simply than that. You just leave it. You just leave it. If this has a root on it, you're done. That's my answer. Move on. So that's what we had going over last week. So let's try one more, and you kind of try it on your own without me kind of leading you through the whole thing. How about number, let's see if we have a good one. 11 is a good one, but now I'm changing my mind because I'm thinking, hold on, if I did this one, what's 78 plus 6 is 84. Yeah, let's do 16. And I'm going to help you just get started. 16 looks like this. 4x squared plus 16x minus 78 equals 6. Woo! All right, so we have a problem here. First of all, I have 2 single numbers here. I don't have just one C. I've got 2 things going on. Well, it's okay. I'm still going to operate the same way. I would still start off by moving the 78 to the other side. Absolutely.
Jess just twitched the second I walked in the room.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I was moving my legs.
So I'm going to start off by moving that C over. Okay, so let's add 78 to both sides. So 84, right?
Can you divide that all by 2?
I can do one better.
4.
Yes. In fact, I have to. A has to be 1 before I go any further.
So you can move the thing to the other side before.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to, but it's going to make your life a lot easier because, look, if I divided by 4 in the beginning, 78 doesn't divide by 4 evenly, and neither does 6. So I'd have fractions, but 84 does divide by 4. So this is going to work out to my advantage. But I can't go any further until I make a 1. All right, everybody ready? So in this case, A has to be 1. Let's go ahead and,
There's a buggy. On the window.
yeah, that's not going to do anything, so please don't.
I mean, it's gonna make it.
Just go slap with your shoe.
Leave it alone.
It's fine. Just honestly, just leave it. It's not going to do anything. All right, so I'm here, right? I have to make a 1. Even if these things don't divide by 4. In our case, they do, so we're lucky. Doesn't matter. You have to divide everybody by 4. So now I'm here. 84 divided by 4 is 21. Now it's not so hard of a problem. Because now look what I have. A is 1 and B is even. So, C is already on the other side. Go ahead and see if you can finish it from here.
Find tab calculator. Slip big number. Oh wait, I'm doing it wrong. How'd
I
you
think
get
so.
41?
Wait, what? Dude,
What?
she did the problem. You're supposed to copy it down.
Which one?
I'm on, this is number 16? Yes, 16.
I did it.
What did you do? Oh,
I moved 78 over
and you
and divided everybody by 4.
That's what I did wrong.
Wait, don't we think the magic number first?
No, you can't get the magic number until A is 1. You have to make that happen first.
That's what I did wrong.
Bro, I swear to God.
I completely forgot how to find the
Half of B
okay.
squared. Yep. Oh, your answer? Yeah, you can. Okay, ready? All right, guys. I need to find my magic number. In this case, the magic number is 4. I want half of B squared. Is everybody with me? Half of B squared. So half of 4 is 2, and 2 squared just so happens to bring me right back to 4. But that won't always be the case, right? Make sure you add it to both sides.
Half of B squared. So like.
So like in the last one, it was -8, so we took half of it and then squared it, and that's how we got 16.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
21 plus 4 is easy. That's just 25. Over here, I want factors of 4 that add up to be 4. So it's positive 2 and positive 2, so I write it as x plus 2 squared.
And then you square it.
I square root it.
Yeah.
I square root the left and the right. When you do it on the left, the square root and the square cancel each other out, so I just have x plus 2. And it just so happens 25 is a perfect square. I know the square root of 25 is 5.
And you do plus minus.
Yes, you have to remember plus minus right there. Otherwise, you're only going to get one answer every time. And that means you're missing the other answer. So you only have half an answer. And now I'm almost done. All I have to do is minus the 2. Remember what to do. You shove it. But now I ask myself, can I simplify this anymore? Yes.
What?
Can't you do -2 plus 5? Of course you can. What's -2 plus 5? 3.
I remember this.
And then you can do -2 minus 5, which is,
-7.
there's my 2 answers. Sure.
Did you just say sure? That's the first time I've ever heard you say sure. You always say it super fast.
She must be my favorite.
Wow.
You said sure.
The key favorites once again.
You're probably probably get killed first.
So, where are we? That's it. That was my answer.
Wow, good job.
You missed.
All right. I think it's time now that we step it up a tiny notch. And we start looking at one that's a little bit more difficult. So let's see where to go from here. If you guys could look at number 4 real quick. Number 4. So, everybody listen. Are you listening? I don't know what has gotten into you guys today. Number 4. Again, the way that the directions are stated here, find the value of C that completes the square. That just means, hey, what would the magic number be for this? So if that's, so yeah, I'm going to have some value over here. I'm trying to figure out what number would I be adding to both sides. That's what would go here. So in other words, it's just, what's the magic number? 100 in this case, right? Because half of 20 is 10, squared is 100. So if I replace C with 100, haven't I created a perfect square here? Right? Because factors of 10 that add to be, factors of 100 that add to be 20 are 10 and 10. That's all they want you to do. So on number 4, well, gosh, that was easy. That's it for number 4. But now, let's look at 3, for example. 3 is tougher. Even though I'm doing the same steps, I still just want half of B squared. The problem is that B is odd. So when I take half of 9, I know you know that it's 4.5. It is not in your best interest to go into decimals. You actually want to stay with fractions, yes. And you'll see why as we do some examples, okay? You do not want to go to decimals. As tempted as you may be, you're going to make it worse. So, half of 9 is what as a fraction? Isn't it just 9 halves, right? 9 over 2, right? Half of anything is just that number over 2, right? Right? So half of B, in this case, is 9 halves. Right? Oops. And then, aren't I just supposed to take half of B and square it? So now, I want to square that number. What is 9 halves squared? 81/4, because aren't you doing 9 halves times 9 halves? And don't you just get 81/4?
Can you move the camera down a little bit?
Oh, yes. Thank you, sir. So that's my answer for this one. My magic number, if this were my scenario, would be 81/4. You try it with number 1. So you got to think about half of 11 as a fraction and then square it. So far, it's about to get interesting. Okay, everybody found the magic number here? All right, so half of negative 11 is negative 11 over 2. And then I want to square it. So what is negative 11 over 2 squared? 121 over 4. That would be my magic number, 121 over 4. Dare we try number 2? It's actually going to be a huge number. Huge. But whatever, we have a calculator, so. How would I find half of this number? Multiply what by 2?
Divide the top and the bottom by 2.
Simplify it.
Oh wait, you have to
Don't I want to, guys, is everybody listening? when I wanted half of 9, right? Didn't I just do 9 times a half and I get 9 halves?
Oh yeah.
So don't I just want to multiply this by a half? So wouldn't I just get 169 over 40? Right? If you multiply by 1/2, multiply by 1 on top, 2 on the bottom. If you double the denominator, it's the same thing as taking half of the number. So half of b, in this case, would be 169 over 40. And then I would just have to square that. That's why I'm saying this is going to be a huge number, because 169 squared is huge. It is, in fact. Oh, it's not that bad. You'd get 28,561 over what's 40 squared? 1,600. So that would be my value for C. Could you imagine doing a problem like that? Okay, so now let's go ahead and try one, doing the problem out completely, where A is, or where B is odd. So, I'm actually not seeing any that I like on here. Maybe this one. 5. If you add 7, -5, 14. Yeah, okay, I'm just gonna make my own up. I don't like any of those. All right. Let's say we had x squared. We'll keep it easy to start off with. X squared plus, so what do you want to deal with? Give me an odd number that's not too bad.
14.
15. I'm gonna go 7. Sorry.
That's half of 14.
And then we'll have a plus 10. All right, I'm going to solve this one by doing completing the square. Our steps are the same that we already wrote, okay? I have to make sure that A is 1. It already is, so I'm good there. I still have to move C to the other side. So x squared plus 7x equals a -10 now. I still want to find my magic number. What's the magic number this time?
Christina, what did you? No decimals.
It would be 14 fourths, right?
I'm
No,
so
49.
49 fourths, right? Because half of 7, and again, if you want to just jot some stuff over on the side, half of 7 is 7 over 2, and then I square it, so times it by another one, so I get 49 fourths, yes. So that is my magic number. So I'm going to add 49 fourths to both sides. Okay, on the left, I just add those two numbers together. Unfortunately, they don't have common denominators, so I'd have to really do, wouldn't it really be -40 over 4, right, if I multiplied 4 on top and bottom, right? So don't forget your rules of fractions. -40 over 4 plus 49 over 4 means I get 9 fourths. Positive 9 fourths. Everybody agree so far? I haven't done anything too crazy yet? Now, on the left, we're supposed to factor this. Miss Sabia, how am I supposed to know what the factors of 49 fourths are that add to be 7? You don't have to, because there's an excellent little pattern.
7 goes into 49.
It does, but that's not my pattern. If you look at any of the previous problems that we've done, take a look at this, and then we got here, right? Because we were looking for factors of 16 that add to be -8. There's some relationship between this number and this number. Oh, it's half. Is that always true? Let's look at another one. Here's one. I had this. Is this number half of the... Well, by golly. So, any of the examples you look at from even... Look, here's the ones that we did last week. Look. This number is always half of whatever the B term is. So, that's our cool little trick right here. Where are we? Right here. When I'm trying to figure out the factors of 49/4 that add up to be 7, you don't have to. It's always just going to be half of B. So, half of 7 is 7/2. Sorry. You guys are...
We're smart.
Yeah, because you made me mess up because you're saying 3
Who said 3?
and a half, but you don't want decimals. Oh.
Probably Ryan.
Don't forget the squared, right? Because that's how this whole thing works, right?
There's a high.
So I'm just going to write this here, x plus 7/2. Okay, guys. So now I'm here. Okay? Now I'm proceeding like I normally would. I would take the square root of both sides. So this side just leaves me with x plus 7/2. And this side, shockingly, is actually quite nice. 3/2. What do you need to remember?
Plus or minus.
Plus and minus. I still have to minus 7/2 over and shove it. So, I'm running out of room, but that would look like negative 7/2 plus minus 3/2. You are not done. You can do that, so you should. What is negative 7/2 plus 3/2?
4 over 2.
Which is just 2, right? Negative 7/2 minus 3/2. What is that?
7, 8, 9, 9, negative 9. Wait.
7/2 minus 3/2 would be negative 10/2, which is just
5.
negative 5. When your answer comes out nice like this, that basically just means that you could have factored this
Make it easier.
and your life would have been so much easier. But I wanted to use a simple example so that we could see how the process goes, even when B is odd. I didn't know. You were the heir of Slytherin. Who knew?
Do you not hear Potter? Do you know what
Have you guys never seen Harry Potter?
that one's new?
I understood the reference, but I just don't like it. I don't like it.
He's a snake. I just am looking over and I'm seeing things like a snake. This is on camera, I hope you know.
Oh my god, I forgot. Are we gonna be YouTube stars?
Hi, YouTube.
We're gonna be on every fail blog ever is what's gonna happen. My gosh. Jeez.
Oh, we're running.
Wow.
Hannah.
Okay.
Hey. Now my voice.
Let's go ahead and try one maybe that doesn't come out so nice. How about number 19? Let's look at 19 together. So first of all, 19's kind of all over the place because it doesn't look like our other ones. So let me rewrite it over here.
I know exactly what to do.
X squared plus 3x equals 6x plus 70. All right. So, before I can begin, I already don't like that this is all kind of out of order. So, C, remember, is just my constant. That's already over here. But this 6x, I got to move it back, right? Because I want 1a, 1b, and 1c. So, let's minus 6x to the other side. Now it looks like my other ones, and I'm good to go. C is on the other side, so I'm ready to figure out what my magic number is. So please do not say it out loud. Just decide for yourself what the magic number would be in this case.
Say it to ourselves.
Correct.
Not out loud.
Everybody has their magic number?
Hold on, Savior.
Do we do negative 6x minus 6x to get the number that we've made into the magic number?
No. Now you don't even look at this. You just want half of b squared.
Oh.
So you want half of -3, and you want to square that number. And you want it as a fraction. Do not go into decimals.
Let's have the
Okay, so our magic number is 9/4.
Wow.
Half of -3. Isn't half of -3 just -3 over 2? And then if I need to square that, that's another -9 over -3 over 2. So I get +9 over a +4. 9/4 is my magic number. $70 plus 9/4. So, what I can do, instead of putting 70 over 1 and getting common denominators, when they're both positive, you can just treat this like a mixed number and just make it improper. So 4 times 70 plus 9, leave it over 4 if you want. So 280 plus 9, 289 over 4. Just make your life a lot easier. You got to be careful though when negatives are involved, because now you're actually subtracting and you're not adding. So, but that's a nice shortcut if they're positive numbers. Just, and you're pretty much good. Now, on the left, you have to factor that, but remember, you're just going to use our pattern. So we know it's going to be something in here with this squared, but what goes in there? Yes, x minus 3/2. It's always x and then whatever half of b is. And we had already figured it out that it's just 3 over 2. Make sure you keep the sign, right? So -3, -3/2. And now you're ready to go. So all you have to do now, square root both sides. X minus 3/2. And now over here, don't forget positive, negative. Square root of 289. I think it is actually a perfect square. Is it 17? And then the square root of 4 is just 2. So now I'm almost there. All I have to do is add the 3/2 to the other side. So take it, shove it. You got 3/2 plus minus 17/2. Which again, you are not going to leave your answer like that, because this you can do. What's 3/2 plus 17/2? One too many. 20/2, which is just 10. And then 3 over 2 minus 17 over 2 would leave you where? Negative 14 over 2, which is just -7. So there's my two answers. Again, they won't always come out so nice. It's just a hint to you that when they do come out so nice, you could have factored from the beginning. Should we try a super hard one now, or should I give you one more like this for you to try on your own? Let's do that. One more like this. Try on our own before we get too crazy. So, let's see. Do I like any of these ones? Yeah, go ahead and do 20.
Wait. 24.
So again, on 20, you're going to have to start off by adding that 7n back over.
So we just add 7 in to both sides.
And
That's where, yep, and then you want to move the 14 to the other side.
Yeah.
A is already 1, so we're a little lucky there. Okay, so hopefully we got somewhere. I already added the 7n and minus the 14 to the other side. So I'm ready to find my magic number. What did you guys write as your magic number? 25 fourths. Yes? Half of negative 5 is negative 5 over 2. If I square negative 5 over 2, I get a positive 25 fourths. Always remember, no matter what, this number, your magic number, will always be positive. Whether it's a fraction or not, it should always be positive. Okay? So now over here, I have to add those fractions together, so I do need common denominators. 14 times 4 is what? 56? So I get negative 56 fourths plus 25 fourths. 56 minus 25 is 31, so negative 31. Is that right? Did you get what I got? Okay. Over here, what am I going to have inside here? N minus
5
5 over 2. And then I square root both sides. You happen to luck out on this one right here, because what happens? You can't take the square root of a negative.
Oh my God.
So what does that mean as far as your answer is concerned?
No real solution.
There are no real solutions, so you actually get to stop. Normally, I would just keep going. I'd get 2 as my denominator. Imagine if that were a positive 31, I'd just have square root of 31 as my excuse me, numerator, and I'd go from there. But in this case, I can't do it, so I'm done. Yeah.
Hey, it's about
Actually,
say sure.
I heard David up here. She said,
They said because I always tell everybody, hurry up, go super fast, and I just said sure to you. You better be quick.
Like a bunny.
Okay.
All right, so I think we're ready to try a couple.